It's a bop. It's a bop. It's
When
a
you
bop.
working too hard, but they call it to come up.
Hey. What's up, y'all?
That hits so hard.
It do,
I
'cause
can't
it's just-
believe that's Marquise.
It's Marquise. It's wild. My boy is mad talented. I think we deserve to play the intro one more time just because it's that good. One more time.
Hey.
Buddy called it to come up.
Okay, look, babe, let's stick with what you're good at.
What's up, y'all? This is the JPM Uncut, episode 2.
What's up, what's up?
The second one released to the public, baby. Let's go.
I know, this is exciting.
This is so exciting. We have way too much fun with this, as you can tell.
More than we ever could have imagined.
I think a part of it is just we love, like, the podcast mic just makes your voice sound so good.
It really does. I usually hate my voice, but this is so fun.
It just got me want to be like, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, episode 2 of the JPM Uncut. Like, it just is wild. Okay, let's
all
start.
right,
Let's
let's
start.
bring it back. What are we talking about, babe? Come on.
What are we talking? I thought that was
Passion
for you.
or profit?
Passion or profit. Okay.
This is something that you wanted to bring up.
It was something I wanted to bring up. I really wanted to just kind of rant about how you're, pursuing weddings. Mm-hmm. Are you chasing the dollar, or are you chasing, the fun and the joy and the thrill of filmmaking?
Exactly.
So where do we start?
But I feel like before we get into it, we need to talk about your passion, where that even started for you before this filmmaking style, before even picking up a camera.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to go way back. I've always been an entrepreneur at heart, but I've always wanted that professional feeling, if that makes sense. Like, I remember having a business called Justin Porter Handy Kid Services when I was 8. No older than Caden's age, my son.
Yeah.
And I was literally doing odds and ends for people and going around, putting together coffee tables and, furniture.
I mean, you
and
had a business card.
it was legit. It had my photo on
Your
it.
grandma still has the business card on her fridge.
I love it because even then I always saw myself as this businessman. I always wanted to pursue. Even in that photo that she has on her fridge, the same photo, I'm wearing a suit jacket.
It makes me think of the story you told me when you would take a briefcase to school.
Oh yeah, and I would get any of y'all that went to school with me from, I would say, 6th grade and up. If you are listening to this podcast, joke's on you, okay? Because all of those little habits that y'all clown me for actually started, paying off today, and kind of it translates to who I am now.
Which is
and how I
so
run the
crazy, which
business.
is why even for me, when I learned these things about you, I just found it so fascinating to connect that to who you are now. It makes so much sense.
Thinking about how I would do some of the most bizarre things in terms of practicing for just that professional feel. Even today, you'll catch me in the mirror, and I'm just like,
So many
And I'm
times have I caught him talking to himself. In the beginning of our marriage, when you're just still kind of learning things about each other, I'm like, babe, what are you doing? Or I would sneak up on him and he would see me.
I'm
and
having
he
full
would
on
be so
conversations with
shocked.
myself. And it's not even I'm not talking to myself yeah, what are you doing? I'm not doing nothing. I was
He
rehearsing
was
an actual
really going
interview.
through it. And so it'd be so funny because I would surprise him out of nowhere and he would almost have this look of embarrassment. You just caught me.
Because when I go into the mode, it's random. Especially when I'm excited, new opportunity or maybe a job interview, or just when I would practice going into my consultations with my couples, I would always just kind of sit there in the mirror as I'm doing my beard and stuff, and I'm just hey, my name's Justin. How are you guys? I'm excited to talk. I would just kind of rehearse
All the
energy that I
time.
wanted to carry. And
Gosh,
now,
I remember when you did that a lot at the beginning.
all the time.
And now it's
remember when
just a system, but yeah.
Remember when I had you literally on the MacBook pretend to be my client? And so I literally practiced. I was talking to her. I was hey, Cassandra, I'm so happy to meet with you today. How are you? And I was carrying on this whole interview with her as if she wasn't my wife. And
Hilarious.
it was just so I think a big thing is they talk about all the time, iron sharpens iron and all that good stuff. It's a skill set. I think communication and being able to translate, or even sell something is a skill set. And it's always underlooked, especially in our industry, because a lot of people always come to me and they're like, man, I can't get booked, or I'm running ads, but no one's biting. And I'm like, well, what's your sales process like? Which this would be a whole different topic. I'm sure we'll talk about this at some point.
Yeah.
But that's always the culprit to being booked and not being booked is how are you selling it? How are you positioning it? And then do you practice? Like, are you weird enough to just look at yourself in the mirror and sell to yourself and figure out, okay, that sounds good. That doesn't sound good, you know?
But it's so funny too, because you have, I mean, when I met him, I learned that he has had multiple jobs, careers in his lifetime.
wanna
He's
go
just
through the
picked up
list?
so many. Yeah, please
Let's
go through the list for
okay,
them.
so we had at age like, at age like 6, I had the lemonade stand.
6.
I had the lemonade stand.
Oh yeah, this is the story when you bought instead. Like he got good grades, so he was able to get something from the store.
Let me tell
he
y'all.
bought some plywood.
And to this day, it's the funniest thing my brother will always remember because my dad gave me like $350 and I was like 6 or 7. And he was literally like, hey, I could take you to the store and get you anything you want. You know, you got $350 you could spend. $350 20 something years ago was
That's
lot
a
of
lot.
money. It was a lot. Gas was like $1.50, you know, close to $2.
Dang.
Maybe even lower, you know. But anyways, it was he was like, yeah, we'll take you to the store, get you anything you want. At the time, I was obsessed with this show, with DIY Network, Do It Yourself Network. Okay, I didn't watch Nickelodeon.
Babe, you were 6 or 7. What?
I was so fascinated with how you could put a pile of wood into this masterpiece. It just like, it was incredible to me. It literally like, I think that streamlined all this creativity because even today, like you'll see me build stuff like in the van, putting together those shelves and building my own box and stuff like that. It's so like exciting to just look back and be like, wow, this was just like 4 sticks and look what I did. Like this wall, for example, if y'all are watching the video podcast, this whole wall behind us, this was just, you know, some random materials at a store and now it's a wall. I think that's so exciting. So anyways, going back to the story, I started out and I was literally at that time, I was obsessed with building. I was obsessed with carpentry. And then there was this show on DIY Network called Warehouse Warriors. I don't know how I remember this, but I remember they would literally, it would be a group of kids, a red team and a blue team. And both teams had one like master carpenter. And their goal, they would be given a set like, okay, you guys got to make a bunk bed. And so each team would go off and design the best version of this bunk bed. And I kid you not, to this day, I applied probably 3,000 times to be on this show.
You're joking. You
Ask
never
my mom.
told me this.
Ask my mom. I tried so many times. Like my life achievement was to be on Warehouse Warriors.
Oh my God, I never even heard of that show.
I was so excited about it. I was so obsessed with it. And I was like, man, like if there were kids. To me, I was like, that's me. I could be on this because they were kids. So it
Yeah.
didn't seem like unattainable, you know?
That's
But I
wild.
remember going to DIY Network, applying for it, like submitting everything. Like it was ridiculous. I did it like at least 1,000 times,
That's
not even
insane.
exaggerating.
I can't believe they never chose you.
Never chose me. Joke's on y'all, man.
So
The show
sad.
would still be out. You know, I could, who knows? I could be like a hostess. I don't know. But anyways, that was kind of like the stream role that got me into the whole building phase. And I remember when my dad was like, yeah, here's your money. You know, you can take this and go get anything you want. He was like, where you want to go? I can take you to Toys R Us this weekend. I chose Lowe's. That's where I went. And I came back and I still have this same saw today. I came back with a Black & Decker jigsaw. And right now, to this day, I have the same Black & Decker.
And that's a story from his brother, though, is that like he got to go to the store with him and he thought they were going to like get something cool, like new games or something. Cause he was like,
We
yeah,
drive
Justin's
right
going to get
past
something. I'm
Toys
going to get
R Us.
something too. And then he ends up getting some plywood and nails.
And yeah, I got enough. And that's when I actually built my first lemonade stand, not too long after my that birthday. I remember it was like really janky at one point where it was literally just like a piece of plywood and 4 sticks, no support. So design wise, it was a horrible build. I came back like the following summer. I had 3 shelves. I had rolling casters. I had a sign that came up off the top that said lemonade 25 cents.
Still at that age, trying to figure out how you could do it better the next time.
It was because I literally would watch and see my even today, like I correlate this with my wedding films. I will watch the wedding film or I would do something. And then it's like all I can really, really focus and hone in on is the slight imperfections, you know? Like I hated, you know, back then, I'm not sure what the reason was, but I guarantee you it was because it wasn't stable. So every time you would put this 25-gallon lemonade on top, it literally would rock back and forth. And I wanted like, you know, at the time, I was the only one doing a lemonade stand, so there wasn't any competition, but I wanted my lemonade stand to be legit. So, and that summer, I
That's
actually was
so
on
crazy.
the news, the WEEK back in Peoria, Illinois. They came out, and I was on an episode or one of their series called Kids Count. and they interviewed me. Like it brought tons of
I
business.
know you
like,
said you have that VHS tape. We
I do.
I gotta see how we can find it and
gotta
get it off of that
digitize it.
tape. Yeah.
That was I just back then I've been listening to we're gonna probably be talking about the 50 Cent book for like this whole season. But
Oh my God.
the book is so good. Y'all, the book is so good. I'm not endorsed or anything. Like obviously. Doesn't even know who I
Man,
am.
I feel like you need some endorsements.
But this book is so good. But anyways, he was talking about having like this hustler mentality. Some people are born with it, some people aren't. And I believe mentally I was born with the hustle mentality, but I was also born with a very, very creative mind.
So let's bring it back. Okay. So the lemonade stand, that was like your first thing. Then what? Then the Handy Kid services.
And then so the lemonade stand was great. And then what ended up happening my third year, and to this day, that was kind of like it was a big jab in the heart at running a business. But I ended up getting robbed my third year.
Damn, this is a sad story.
I know, right? You would never expect it. I'm out here selling lemonade, having a great time. Huge group of kids coming down from the Boys and Girls Club, which was about maybe 10 blocks down the road. They're all walking down. They approached the lemonade stand. I had people just grabbing lemonade, grabbing the cups. One person grabbed my whole thing of money and ran off. A girl that was in front of me, she was actually trying to buy it, but I got so aggressive. I ended up like kind of shoving her, and then like two other kids hit me. Then my brother comes out, grabs me, and then they literally slammed the lemonade stand on the ground, kicked the leg in. I remember this like so vividly, so
Terrible.
heartbreaking. But after that, I realized lemonade, selling lemonade on the corner was no longer for me. I was like, we got to figure, but I didn't stop. You know what I mean? I was
Yeah.
at that time, I kind of took the creative approach in the building process since I loved building. And that's where the Justin Porter Handy Kid Services came from.
Mm-hmm.
And this business was basically like one kid doing it all. Like, you want your grass cut? Cool, I got you. You need me to walk your dog? I got you. You need me to put together a coffee table? You need a TV stand, mount put together? I can do all of that.
Yeah, I love that.
And so I was like, a lot of odds and ends for the family, but I started going door to door doing it. I had friends down the road, their parents, like my actual friends, their parents having me do things. And it was odds and ends, like $5 for this, $10 for that type of thing. But I was still able to save. And at the time, my mom opened up, like a kid's bank account for me. So I was actually able to see like the value of money. And it was really cool being able to be like, oh, cool, I got $300. I'm going to go buy this wood. And it was like, I didn't have to ask. It was like, I could just do that.
That's awesome.
So Justin Porter Handy Kid Services was probably like my longest lasting business. I kind of phased out of the name and just started being like a handyman towards like the high school time. And I remember like to this day, any of my high school friends listening, I showed up to, it was in Peoria. It's like, snow central. We're 3 hours south of Chicago. So the wintertime is brutal. I remember showing up in algebra with a 5-gallon bucket of drywall compound. Everybody, I kid you not, I walked class because it was too big to fit in my locker. And so every single class that entire day, I walked.
Why did you have drywall, babe?
I had a job after school and I had to do drywall, but I couldn't leave the drywall compound in the truck. I was afraid it would freeze. It was literally freezing out.
Oh my gosh.
So I walked class to class with this drywall bucket of compound. None of my teeth. It was so funny because no one really said anything except the students,
That's
except
even
my
funnier.
peers. They literally would all be like, "Bro, what are you doing?" And I'm like, I got this job after. But like, this is
You've
like
always been a hustler.
always. This is like probably fresh sophomore year, maybe. But yeah, the handyman services was just like I couldn't stop, and then that ended up changing into my first LLC, which was Rutherford's Repair and Remodel. I made that business. I named it after my dad, so the last name Rutherford was my dad's last name. So I started doing that. I was remodeling, like these were bigger projects. So now we're talking like I was actually making decent money, but I was bad at business. So that business failed way before it even had a chance. Like your boy was like getting paid $500 and would go blow the $500 immediately.
Oh
like,
my God.
right. I mean, like it wasn't in my bank account for 10 minutes and it was gone. So it died well before it even had a chance to thrive. But it was the first real LLC that I had formed with like, the IRS and was trying to run a business. And it worked for a little bit. I had a few people helping out. I got burned on a few projects. But I feel like that's just all of those little things kind of helped me with just understanding business in some capacity.
Yeah.
So But yeah, it's crazy. Like I think Rutherford's Repair and Remodel was the first one, and then I deemed never to do it again because I lost a lot with that business. Obviously, not running my business like a business and managing money. Like there was a lot of things that really, financially put me back. And so we went through a lot after that. And then when I said, okay, if I do another business at some point, because the plan was to bring Rutherford's Repair and Remodel back, not become a filmmaker. This just was a curveball in the process. But I knew that once I brought Rutherford's Repair and Remodel back, I was like, okay, this time I'm doing it legit. Everything by the book. Paying my taxes. I'm being on top of it. I'm making sure I'm making profit. I'm not going to, shop outside of my means. I'm really going to focus on it. And I feel like I say all of that, and then all the TikTok videos of me constantly buying gear is kind of like, are these bad
Well, I
habits?
feel like what they don't see is when the gear doesn't work, he'll send it back or sell it.
back,
So
yeah. So it's not like I've been keeping everything. A lot of it was just, trial and error until something stuck, But yeah, I think the passion for me, the passion started out not necessarily, and I don't think it's ever been about the money, because even Rutherford's Repair and Remodel wasn't a super lucrative business. Obviously, Just Support of Handy Kid Services was just odds and ends. But the way that I had always pursued, wanting to have my own career and wanting to have my own business, I think that's where the passion started. It wasn't just, I want to make $1 million. Like none of my businesses or any of these, side hobbies or hustles were something where I was like, I'm going to make $1 million. It was just solely that I enjoyed the approach of being the feeling of being in charge and having my own business.
Well, that makes me think too. You always say back in fourth grade when your teacher was like, "What are you going to do when your boss tells you to do something?" And you were like, "I'm going to be my own boss.
I'm going to be my own." And I really wish next time I go to Peoria, I got to figure out how to get a hold of him. But McKinley Moulton, that was my fourth grade high school principal.
Wow, you
Mr.
remember
Moulton.
his name?
I remember him, yeah. And it was so funny because even when I would get in trouble, I look back at it now, there was a few situations where I would get in trouble and he would almost lecture me. Like he was like this father figure. It wasn't just, I'm going to suspend you. Like he really would assess the situation and talk to me and make sense of it. But I remember that conversation because it's exciting to think about now because I do own my own business and I actually do have a team. And I've always had that mentality. But obviously in the past, those didn't work out. But now here we are. And I remember him specifically saying one day I got in trouble. He's like, "What are you going to do?" I think it was because I wasn't listening. I literally think I wasn't listening to the teacher. He says, "What are you going to do when your boss tells you something to do and you don't listen?" And I said, "I'm not going to have a boss. I'm going to be the boss." And I was in fourth grade. Like I just got chills saying it.
I know, it's
but
crazy.
It's so real. Like I really want to connect with him and let him know. Like I don't know if he has seen us through, or even remembers who I am because it's been so long. But I would love to see if I can reach out and just be like, "Look,
yeah, that would be so cool.
I'm the
You need
boss.
to do that.
You remember this conversation?
I can record it too."
I know. We got to do that. But yeah, I've always had the passion was never about chasing money. It was more about creating something that wasn't there, building something for myself. And just to clarify, I didn't grow up wanting for anything. We were, my family was successful. Everything that I thought I needed, I had. Any toys that I asked for Christmas, I got, so it wasn't like I needed to do this stuff because oh man, I got to help mom with the bills. Or I got to help my dad with the bills. It wasn't that. It was just that burning desire to want to have my own business, you know? And I do somewhat need to give credit to my dad because he's always been this, kind of hustler and grinder. And he owned his own trucking company and he was doing his own owner operator.
I don't think I realized he owned the company.
Yeah,
he probably told me that.
He owned his own trucking company. He was an owner operator, so he'd sublease to certain companies, but he owned his own truck, his own trailer. And it was a constant hustle for him. I was kind of raised and brought up in that. And then my mom being this very, very independent, never rely on the next check type of person, and so the happy
so crazy.
blend
I
of
feel
both.
like that is almost like our dynamic now, that our kids see.
Right? Because it
what
is.
they're
It's
seeing.
literally, and I think, I say this all the time when I talk to my couples and calls. I'm like, I started seeing the light. Everything started clicking when we met because you had such this, in my eyes, you were this put together person. And I'm like, whoa, I need to get like that. I was like, oh, she's already established. There's no way she's going to go for a sucker like me if I'm out here spending the rent money on some, new Nikes or something.
I remember you saying that. You were like, I felt like I had to make sure I was on your level.
Yeah, or at least fake it until I made it. Like I was faking it.
That's a whole nother
That's a whole
story.
nother podcast because your boy was pulling loans out the back end, boy. But it's all right, we made it, we grinded, and I think now just seeing that how that persistent kind of, go-getter mentality, even at a young age.
It's been amazing to even witness firsthand from my point of view. I mean, that's the whole reason I have
You're so
believed in
sweet.
you all along the way. The reason why I decided I'm getting out of the military, I'm going to support you 100,000% and just push everything. And it's been a crazy ride.
It has been a crazy ride. I still look at it now. It's so surreal because even now being, considered, one who's changing the industry, if you want to say that. I never liked saying those things to myself because it's like I believe that I'm just, outgrowing where I once was, and I'm sharing that with everyone. But I think even being considered that, I love the way the business has grown. I love the way that everything has grown with the passion still at the forefront. And
Absolutely.
it's something that I didn't even really realize, like it's never really been about the money until we sit and talk about it. And like for example, The Harpers, I love that film. Remember, like we literally love that wedding film, but did they pay for this style? Did they pay for a 23-minute film? No. But the passion and the desire to improve my craft, that's always been
That's always there,
the
no matter
priority.
what.
No matter what. I don't care what at that time when they booked me, cool, I was doing something different. We've evolved. We've elevated since then. It was only supposed to be one filmmaker. It's 3 of us or 2 of us, So we showed up and we still performed at the level that we were at that point in
You
time.
still look at it as a way to grow,
to grow.
to get
Yep.
better.
And
Every wedding.
If you don't lead with passion, then you would do it the opposite way. You would automatically go into a wedding knowing that, oh, well, they didn't pay $8,000 like my other couples. I'm not using lights today. Or they didn't pay $8,000 like my other couples. I'm not setting up, 2 tripods. I'm just gonna do my easy rig setup.
Yeah, you are definitely not
It's
that person
Every
to
wedding-
sacrifice that.
every wedding 110% regardless, because the cost is the reward for doing what you love. It's not the reason for doing what you love. And so I think that's like the biggest thing for me is I always approach every single wedding as, okay, like for example, the weddings we got this weekend, I've got all these new ideas for the 2023 season. So starting now is like practice day 1, I know the parts that we've already solidified, the gimbal, the way we're going to run our ceremony, the way we're going to set up our speeches, the way we're going to record sound, miking people, those are all set in stone. Now I'm trying to build my reception part of the story. So now we've got all these ideas. This will be another podcast.
It's always something next to focus on
We've
with
got a
him.
whole new list of ideas of trial and error. So we're going to keep going until something sticks. And then that's going to be the next step that we add to the arsenal in terms of just the story element of the wedding films.
That's amazing. All right, so passion or profit, right? The whole point of bringing this topic up, because you've noticed it on some of your mentorship calls where people are, going into this like, oh, I'm just trying to make money, man.
yeah.
How does that affect what they're doing and their business?
If you go into it with the mindset of you just want to make money, you're never going to focus on the things that are keeping you from making money. And I think a lot of us in the industry, we, and sometimes it's hard to hear, but sometimes you need people like a Mitch. Mitch is one of my close friends, and I love him because I will send him one of my films like The Harpers, and he'll
be real.
He will literally critique it and make it make sense. Like he doesn't just say like, oh man, these color grades were amazing. He'll be like, yo, I love your ceremony. However, the grades on all these cameras always, caught me off guard. They always look different. Like he will be so real about the feedback. And you need people like that. So if your circle right now
Absolutely.
is all about, man, you're killing it, man, you're killing it, man, you're killing it, you need to find someone who will keep it real, because
And you
even
need to
though
be receptive of that feedback.
that's the biggest thing. And that's like Mitch, even though sometimes Mitch can be very aggressive,
It can come off a
but
little
I
abrasive.
can handle that because it's like I need that. Like when Mitch would always tell me for months, he'd be like, dude, your color grading is trash. And I literally would go and go and go. And now, like, he doesn't even say anything about the color grades. He expects them to be as good as the last because they're
Yeah.
good now. So I think you got to have people like that. But I think if you lead with the whole fact that you're only trying to make money, then it's going to basically you're not gonna care about perfecting your color grades, or you're not gonna care about perfecting your sound. You're only caring about how much more can I make. I'm only like, oh, okay, cool. Like if your product sells and it's selling right now and it's selling good, but then you raise your rates and it's still selling, then it's hard not to see value in putting that passion first, because then it's like, oh, well, people are already paying me what I want to make. I don't need to improve it. But what if you improved it? The change, when you improve it and you actually make it better, now you enjoy the process more. So that burnout, that feeling of like, oh man, I don't feel like doing these weddings. I'm so tired of weddings. You don't have those thoughts because you have so much fun in the process. Now,
Absolutely.
I'm not saying I don't get tired going to
I was about to
weddings,
say, not
but
to say that that doesn't happen, but I think it's just less as often.
it's less
right?
as often. Like, if anything, I'm just tired, physically. Maybe I had 2 or 3 weddings in a row and I'm like, okay, by day 3, I'm like, whew, I don't know how we gonna make it through this one, man. We better go get some monsters.
That's like your October month. It's
Yo,
like
man,
back
October
to back
is
to back.
always, yeah. But that's the thing, though. It's like I do love that we're profitable as a business and that it supports my family. But I think if I wasn't filming the way I was filming right now, there's no way that I think I
You'd
would
be
be
able to
pushing
keep
as
going.
much. Yeah, it would be. I feel the same burnout as some of the people that I've had mentor calls with. I feel the same kind of like nonchalant, kind of shrug your shoulders vibe when I would approach a wedding. It was just,
Which makes sense when you're doing the same formula
Yep.
every wedding.
and it's rinse and repeat. And technically, I'm doing the same formula now. It's just every wedding truly is authentic to that couple because
Every
their
story is
story,
different. Their
their
family
energy, the
dynamic is
family,
different.
100, all of it. And
Oh, yeah.
so it makes it so I'm doing the storytelling elements that as a filmmaker makes my heart happy. And then in return, I get to even I have a better experience editing. I get a better experience with my color grade and my sound design because we've got sound bites that just, oh man, that's so good. Wow, I'm getting chills. Like I'm getting these, satisfying feelings from the entire process now, rather than just like filming the wedding, hating it, hating that I'm there, then going home, got to slap this together. That's like the mindset. People say, oh, I got to literally just slap this together real quick. I'll be done.
Yeah.
And as a result, you're just like, you're burning out that creative flame. The reason that you picked up a camera, you're literally draining yourself.
Absolutely.
So I think
Such a good point. It really
yeah.
is.
Yeah, passion versus profit. And you can still be profitable, but as long as you love it, 100% can look yourself in the eyes, in the mirror, and say, I love this and I love what I'm doing, then by all means, continue to thrive and grow. You raise your rates, you build, your clientele, you're doing these things because you are still in business. But I think your success is going to shine even more and you're going to have more fun doing it. You're not going to feel, what's the saying, perfect saying, we can just end it with this. Perfect saying is when you do something you love, you never work a day in your life.
Exactly. I
I
just
think-
wrote that the other day.
I think that literally sums up what I was basically trying to say. A long-winded version of saying, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And I literally see that. Like I put in all these hours, but before I know it, just like, oh man, I spent 10 hours doing this. It doesn't feel like the same 10 hours of going to clock in 9 to 5 at AT&T. It feels
Yeah.
entirely different.
I feel like you're even more passionate about it because not only do you love storytelling with the camera, but just like you said, from a young age, you've always wanted to be like this entrepreneur, like your own boss, like a business owner, and you're doing all of that at the same time. So all these things mixed together, it's like, just is amazing to wake up every day, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, and it's like one of those things too, because I've always wanted so much to just have like my own business to share with like my family, and so I wish I could, show my dad. I'd be like, Dad, look,
I know.
we doing real
He
good.
sees us.
He sees us. But I think, and I remember at one point, I think when he passed away, I even wrote that. I said, I'll do it for you. That's all I said. And I said, R.I.P. Dad. It was like a
Okay,
post I
don't
put
make
on
me
Facebook.
cry over here, babe.
Well,
Jeez.
sorry. It's just like, it's always been like the thriving and succeeding is like passion in itself, and I can say firsthand that, leading with that and being so passionate, it's been the culprit of our success.
And it helps get you through those long, strenuous hours. I was talking to another entrepreneur yesterday, and she was like, girl, this is hard out here. I'm like, I know, I see it behind you, but also like how much has always put in since the beginning. It is so much work, but it makes it easier when you just feel that passion behind it, and that can help fuel you through those long, gruesome hours.
And you're gonna have
when
them.
you spent all night building a website when you first started the business.
Oh man, I remember that.
Oh man, I remember too, because I woke up the next day. He never came to bed. Like it was like his eyes were just like blacked out. He was like, "Oh my god, I'm so like, did you sleep? No, babe. Look, I made this whole website."
It's like when you are in a business by yourself, self-employed, you wear all the hats. And I always compare it to like the Amazon. You know, Amazon, Jeff Bezos is not going to be the one who answers your customer service call. You'll never reach him because that company is way past that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you call in, they've got a whole team that's designed to, oh, is it for electronics? Cool. We're going to send you to that department. And so, but being a small business, it's like you wear all those hats. You are marketing, you are PR, you are, you know, branding and all of it. You're doing all of it. You're the manager, you're HR, you're the employee.
You're doing it from the ground up.
Doing it from the
It's
ground
not
up.
easy. But
And-
all of these big companies started somewhere.
Like Jeff Bezos started in a garage.
Yeah.
Bill Gates, garage. They literally were in a garage making a little tinker computer, and here they are.
And I think I think that's honestly any, big person with their big company or whatever, they've all started somewhere that have these crazy stories of just how hard it was.
And I think they all, you could probably ask them, I'm sure. And I mean, get it now, like they probably have less responsibilities with the company. But I guarantee you when Jeff Bezos was selling books and stuff out of his garage in a yard as a yard sale, he kept going and probably had no vision of it becoming this as nearly as large as it is today. But I'm sure there was a passion that was burnt. Like, why are you spending time to sell books? It's a yard sale, bro. Let it go. I'm sure he heard that. But here he is now. And I think if you think about that with your wedding filmmaking business as a passion, if you're only doing it for the dollar, I'm not saying, maybe weddings is just not the thing for you. I'm sure you didn't pick up your camera because you were just trying to make $1 million. I'm sure there was something else that was burning inside you creatively that made you want to start filming.
And I feel like if you're not doing it with passion, then how can you expect it to grow beyond where you're at now without maybe remaining stagnant, All right. Well, I think we kind of covered everything, like a lot of just passion versus profit, why it's so important, but then also like hearing the background of your story, I always feel like is so inspiring just to see how all of the pieces of the puzzle, like from you growing up and doing all these jobs. I mean, you didn't even get into the fact that you did landscaping, you were in phone sales, which sales was huge, that, but everything you did along the way really has added into your business and knowing how to like handle certain things. So I love your story. I really do. And I'm so glad that we went into this a little bit deeper so that you could share that at the same time.
Yeah, I think it was good to talk about too, because I completely forgot about the whole lemonade stand. Like it was legit. So well, I guess I just want to say it one more time to burn it in your brain. And then I think we'll just start the outro at the same time. But if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life.
Never.
That's it for today, y'all. See you in a week. I got bars. I'm finna rap. One day I'm gonna just start spitting. You ain't gonna even realize it. All right,
I'll
y'all.
realize.
We out.
Peace out, y'all.